Hello, welcome to 10 at 10. My name is Michael Ramage. I'm the director of the Cyber Education Research Center here at Murray State University, and welcome back to 10 at 10. 10 at 10 is brought to you through a partnership between Murray State University, Grow West, the Technology Council of West Kentucky, KY Innovation, and our local partners, Sprocket Innovation in Paducah and the Kentucky Innovation Station in Madisonville. Over the last few weeks, we have talked about ransomware. We have talked about ransomware a lot, actually. We've also talked about what happened at Security Matters, which was also a lot of discussion about ransomware. Over the last week, I've actually been asked the question a couple of different times and really in a couple of different ways about what happens if we do get hit with ransomware. How do we respond? Who should I call? What should I do? Where do I turn to? And it got me thinking that actually we need to discuss, how do you respond if you have a computer incident? How do you plan for? How do you prepare for? How do you respond? And what do you do as follow ups if your organization gets hit with ransomware or has any other type of cybersecurity incident? Perhaps it is ransomware. Perhaps it is a prolonged power outage. Perhaps it's a data breach. Whatever it is, how do you respond to that? How do you prepare ahead of time to make sure that you can respond to that? I'll give a personal example. My neighborhood has now been hit twice with tornadoes. We had the large tornado that came across in December that provided so much destruction across our region. We also had a smaller tornado that came across a few weeks ago, and if we had waited until after that tornado to know where to go, to know what to do, know where that safe space was in our house, then it could have been bad. Now, our house was spared, and I've shared that on here before, but you want to know before the tornado gets there, before you have a really bad day, what to do. And that is something that this incident response planning can do for you. How do you respond? Who do you call? What do you do? What's the steps you need to take to minimize the damage, to recover from it? All of those pieces, to contain it, to detect it, to analyze it, all those pieces need to be included in that incident response plan. So I want to spend a couple of weeks, and we're going to be on this maybe for most of May as well. We're going to talk about incident response planning. What do you do? Now, here's the great thing. NIST, which is the National Institute of Standards and Technology, has actually created a document. It's 80-61 that specifically talks about computer security incident handling. It is a guide to how to handle a security incident if your organization were to have one. Now, NIST has their version. SANS Institute has its version. Organizations have their own spin on this. But generally speaking, there are 6 steps, 6 categories, 6 different areas that we need to think about. And over the next 6 weeks, starting this week, we're going to talk about each one of those 6 different areas, because I think it's that important that I don't want you on the worst day of your company's technology life, especially, to have to be thinking about, who do I call? What do I do? What do I need to do first? You're going to be in a fog. You're going to be having so many thoughts running through your head. There's stats about the number of small businesses that don't recover from a data breach. There's stats about how many businesses fail within the next 6 months following a ransomware attack. All these different things are out there. You're going to be Those thoughts are going to be swirling around in your head. I don't want you to have to also be worried about steps 1, 2, and 3 on your incident response. I want you to think about those ahead of time. Today, so actually, let me back up. No matter which of these plans you follow, whether it's the NIST or the SANS, they're all based on the same things. We're going to talk about NIST over the next few weeks. And the very first thing is to prepare. Prepare ahead of time. We're going to talk about preparation now so that when that incident gets to you, it does occur to you. Now, let me be clear. I hope you never have a security incident. I hope that you never have to implement your incident response plan. But the reality is there's a good chance you're going to have to. The reality is that ransomware attacks are increasing. The number of companies with data breaches are increasing. The number of threats out there, the number of threat actors are increasing. So we need to know how to respond if, and unfortunately maybe when, it happens to you. So first, as I'm talking about preparation is the key. You want to prepare ahead of time. You don't want to wait until you're having that really bad day to start thinking about, oh no, what do I do? You want to have a phone list. You want to have all the contact information you need. You want to have all the pieces that you need to just put it on autopilot and go. The more that you can automate the response, meaning the more that either it's truly automated and you don't have to touch anything, or the more that you can look at a checklist, a playbook is what it's called. The more that you can go to that playbook, the more that you can go to that plan and just put it on autopilot, so to speak, and you know what to do, the better off you're going to be and the better off your organization will be. So as you start thinking about this, as you start thinking about incident response planning and preparation, first thing you need to think about is forming a strategy. Now, you may have 5 different strategies. You may have 15 different strategies, because really each incident's a little bit different. In security, we talk about CIA, the confidentiality, the integrity, and the availability of data. If you have an availability attack because of a denial of service attack, that's going to be different than if that availability attack is because you have a prolonged power outage, which both of those are going to be different than if you have a data breach or hit with ransomware, or fill in the blank. There's a lot of different scenarios that you could think about. So the first thing you want to do is think about that strategy. How do you big picture, what's our goal? What business services do we need to get back online first? What do we need to protect the most? Doing all of this to help create the procedure, to help design the strategy, you're going to need to understand your assets. You're going to need to understand your risk. You're going to need to understand your data. What data do you have that you need to protect? And you're going to need to even understand your threats. What are you protecting all of this stuff from? There's a lot that goes into this preparation, which again is why I go back to say you've got to prepare. That is the key to your success. You want to design the procedure. If I get hit with ransomware, first thing I need to do is call this number. This is my boss, my supervisor. If I'm working in a security operations center and I see that there's a ransomware that we're under attack from ransomware, this is what I need to do first. This is who I need to call first. This is all the steps that I need to do. That way, when it happens, you're already set. You already know what to do. You need to gather resources. Resources may be internal. Resources may be external. Resources may be technology based. Resources may be people based. I would guess you're going to need to have a consultant, a communications expert, a lawyer, and some technical folks that are on standby. They're going to be and senior leadership even. They're going to be your core folks to respond if you have an incident. You need to make sure that you have those resources gathered. If you, as I talked about last week, get hit with ransomware and you're having to negotiate a lower price for your ransomware, you don't want to be looking for a trusted negotiator at the time of the crisis. You want to know who that person is ahead of time. So gather all those resources that you're going to need. And then you need to practice. You need to practice. If you practice, maybe it's a tabletop exercise that we've talked about before. Maybe it's some other scenario-based practice situation that you're going to set up. But if you practice, then you're going to start to learn, oh, I didn't think about this step of the procedure. Oh, I didn't think about calling this person. Oh, I probably should get our communications director involved earlier. Oh, I should probably alert our corporate attorney sooner. Oh, I forgot about alerting law enforcement. Whatever those steps are, you need to think about those ahead of time. In that NIST document that I just referenced, there's actually has some discussions about what the plan should include. It should include your mission. It should include strategies and goals, approvals, approach to the incident. How are you going to approach the incident? Communications plan, metrics. There's a lot more in that. Communication is something that we talked about last week because Lauren Prohl at Security Matters talked about it, but it's so important. We've got to make sure that we're communicating to our internal and external stakeholders, to our legal team, to all those that might be impacted by the incident, but we got to make sure we do it in a structured way that's going to help and not harm. All of these things are going to go into your preparation phase. All of these things are going to go into your plan. You got to make sure you prepare ahead of time so that when that incident happens and you detect that incident, that you're ready and you're prepared to address it. So next week, we're going to go into the detection and analysis phase of the incident response planning guide. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about how you do that and what that looks like as we continue working through those 6 phases of incident response handling. And if you have questions on this, let me know. And if your organization is of any size, I recommend that you hire a professional to do this, that a consultant. Let me rephrase that. A consultant. You're going to have to take some ownership in it for sure. But if you don't know what to do, if you don't know how to get started on this, I certainly would recommend that you reach out to somebody that does know how to do this, that can help you walk through this process so that you don't miss any steps. If you miss one of those steps, then you're going to be in a world of hurt when that bad incident, when that situation arises. So anyway, I hope you found that helpful. I think this is a really important thing, and I think this is a very important series that we're beginning this week. And I hope that you join us back here next week for 10 at 10. It is good having you today, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you. Bye.